This is on the first hour on Tuesdays. We call it KARATBARS University. Now, if you're watching the current financial situation and the price of gold and silver, and you're watching the world economy in terms of the Baltic Dry Index, which is the amount of goods shipped around the world in the oceans, and if you're watching the devaluation of currencies and the teetering price of oil because they're trying to reduce the oil production, and if you're watching the policies of what I call the Abominator, who still is, he's a great late-night TV host. I think if he had applied for the job rather than president, he'd probably do a pretty good job. He's a horrible president, a horrible business manager of the corporation called America, and he's trashed the economy as well as the globalist bankers. And, of course, next candidate to take over from Obama that'll probably trash it even worse is Hitlery, 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 Rotten, R-O-T-T-E-N, not Rodham, Clinton. Now, you need to understand, if you're not paying attention and you have your money in the banks, unfortunately, if you're in Austria recently in the last month, or 3 or 4 months ago, if you're in Italy or Spain, there's a thing called bailing in. Now, bailing in is like going to a barber who sings a song, and he's one of those fancy mustaches, and he's singing a song, but the problem is when he has the straight razor blade to shave your beard, if you're a male, he's going to give you a haircut, but he starts below the chin, if you understand what I mean. He's going to take your head off. Now, you need to get out of the fractional reserve currencies. Now, a lot of people are wondering, what do you do? Well, if you buy gold and silver, you're still going to have to exchange it for fractional reserve funny money dollars, whatever currency it's printed in, whether it's rubles or whatever. Now, the Chinese have attempted to make a yuan that's gold-backed. And they're even making crazy statements like they're not going to exchange it for the U.S. dollar. Your customers are us. So if you don't sell things to us, you don't have an economy. So I don't know where the delusions of the Chinese Communist government, but I think they must be suffering from a form of communist dementia. The fact is, the world economy is very shaky, and they want to demolish it. You have to understand, the powers that be could put in Glass-Steagall. They could put in financial policies. We could make individual treaties like Donald Trump will be, God's trump card. And by the way, if he doesn't get in, which I'm hoping he will, if he doesn't get in, as he said in one of his interviews, we are heading to a very deep recession, if not depression, and he paused for about 4 seconds, if I'm not elected. And I honestly believe him. When his forward speech and reverse speech are checked, David John Oates, the man is coherent. Now, he may be a few rough edges because he's a tough businessman. He may have a touch of Asperger's syndrome, which I probably have too because I don't have restraint of my tongue when I have to tell the truth. And he's very driven. He has what we call high energy, like I do. And he's going to actually pull America out of a nosedive into the ground. Now, I don't know these minorities, but to be honest with you, and it's not likely to happen, but I think his vice president probably should be somebody like Bernie Sanders. Now, Bernie has no idea how to do it, but he has his heart in the right place, which is why basically the same questions and issues that Bernie brought up are what Donald brought up, but Donald is the only competent person that can actually fix it. Now, you need to fix it personally, and if you start off with a bronze package with about $50-some, get a gram of gold a month, and just convince one person on your left and right leg to do the same thing and for them to do it and help them. In a year, you'll have over 1,000 people, and within 12 weeks, you'll have free gold. Now, people say, well, why would I want to do that? I said, because you're exchanging your dollars for gold-backed currency. And the thing is, we can start buying and selling in KARATBARS, even worldwide, on an encrypted network with PGP or ScribbleX that Professor McKinney mentioned earlier. And by the way, he had a great downline, and he's building his business. Sponsored last fall. And what people should understand is it doesn't matter if you're a fruit salesman like Keno in New York, an excellent businessman from Jamaica, or Trinidad, and or you're an astrophysicist, or you're a home mom, or you're an accountant or a doctor. If you spend a half hour a day, and we simply will help you by you being your trainer wheels, you make a list of people that are good candidates. We call your list, play them a 5-minute sizzle call to explain the business of how to save in gold-backed currency, 1, 2.5, and 5 grams in cards, LBMA certified, London Bullion Market Exchange certified gold, gold-backed currency, a tenth of a gram of gold in the currency notes that can't be duplicated. We got Jim now. So Jim, I've just been kind of introducing people here at Republic Broadcasting. I think people should understand that we have a special channel even over at Livestream for KARATBARS. We want to do some other shows too, But if they go to our website, NutriMedical, I've got videos from Dan Jerome, who recently passed. While he was having heart failure and in the process of his health deteriorating, he built a massive business that's passed on to his family. He was, I call a carrot bar evangelist. He kept it so simple and so energetic and so what I call down to earth. Anybody could grasp it, couldn't they? Oh, your phone is doing. See, I mentioned this earlier. I thought you must have got your phone secondhand from one of Santa's elves because it sounds like an elf. So I think we're going to have to reconnect because your phone is misbehaving. So, Pete, why don't you respond when we're trying to get a reconnection?
Is that better?
Oh, that's a lot better. Is this Jim?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, I think I'll tell you what it is. You're trying to do so much business, you have to speed it up just to get it all done in one day.
Yeah, just got to listen quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know what it is? That's what my voice sounds like to a lot of people because if I get a little manic and I don't drink my Calm Mind Brain Mag juice, which I have here today, so I come down to human speed. How's that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, as far as Dan goes, I mean, Dan was such a rare character, and of course, this isn't all about singing Dan's praises, but he had a passion that was definitely unbelievable. He had. I think it's okay to say this. He's told me this, and he didn't broadcast it, but he had congestive heart failure, 35% use of his heart for like the last 10 years, and the doctor said he was stable and should be fine. But when we did the memorial service for him recently, he had confided in close family that he knew he was on borrowed time. He knew he didn't have long. So, which is really interesting, and it gets into the point that I want to make. I had a method for my madness, and that is that we have to have that singularity of focus. The reason that people don't do things, they can come up with all the excuses they want in the world, but it's simply because they don't have a passion and a belief in what they're about. And that's true whether it's carrot bars or anything else. And I say that not because I'm a person that's mastered that, far from it. But I realize that, and I recognize that in Dan. He was just he was focused. So my encouragement to you people is we can give you all the tools and the mechanics in the world. I mean, we can give you all the things that you need to go out and do the things you've got to do. But if you don't have the gas in the engine, none of that stuff's going to do you an ounce of good. And one of the things to me that fuels that is belief in the product, belief in yourself, belief in what's going on. And folks, if you're watching and following gold, you realize it just had a breakout. It broke through the 1,300 barrier, which is really significant. And as you continue to see these little ratchets and these moves up, folks, I encourage you to keep an eye on it, because once the control of the precious metals industry is lost, we don't know where it's going to stop. And once people figure out the true value of paper, it's going to be about as valuable as a piece of monopoly money. Now, will it get that bad? I don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball, but it's coming. When you have 70 times the derivatives that you have in gross national product of the world, you got a serious problem on your hands. And go out and Google that if you don't believe me. I mean, these are hardcore facts. It was the dot-com bubble, then it went to the real estate bubble, and now it's the derivative bubble. And guess when the bubbles broke? 2000, 2008. And guess what those were? Election years. Hello? Anybody paying attention?
It's a pattern. It's a pattern.
Yeah, it's a pattern. Now, do I know for a fact that this is going to happen? No, I don't. But I tell you what, if patterns are any indication, I would keep my eyes peeled and be looking, and I would be buying gold like there was no tomorrow, because guess what? If you don't have any, there might not be a tomorrow for you. So, and that's the beauty of Carrot Bars. It gives you an opportunity to go out and buy gold in a very simple, easy, private manner through a secured website in the convenience of your home, 1 gram at a time, whether you buy it once a week, once every other week, once a month, whatever you do. And to go out like Dan did, be that quote-unquote evangelist, and get the word out to people. Because, folks, this is... salvation isn't in gold. That comes from another place. That's metaphysical. But our physical salvation could very well be in physical gold. and and precious metals in general. I also recommend silver, but do something, folks. Wake up, do something, because it's not getting any better. Go do the research if you haven't. I mean, Dr. Bill gives you guys some hardcore, hard-hitting facts. If you're not numb to it.
Well, let me raise a couple questions, and I like to deal with everything in terms of what we call nonlinear equations and drivers. Mm-hmm. And I learned how to do simulation, nonlinear programming many years ago. I taught myself how to do Simula, Pascal, PL1, etc., and machine languages.
Okay.
And I want to get back into that, but I got a little addicted to programming because I'm a mathophile. So besides by working on my honors PhD program, I'd be in the computer center with the mainframe computer late at night. Mm-hmm. So here's the facts. Number one, what's going to drive it over the edge? And I'll tell you exactly what it'll be. It's really simple, actually. The thing that'll drive it over the edge, when some of the parties that are watching the derivative market, they want to bail because they want to get out early so they don't lose not only their shirt, but their pants and their underwear. Number one. Number two, we have a number of dominoes set up. You ever gone to a table where somebody set up dominoes and then they opened a window and all of a sudden a breeze came in and one of the dominoes started rocking? Mm. Well, somebody's opening the window. Yep. We have the Middle East where now a number of nations are trying to see if they can get a deal to decrease the amount of oil being produced, because the oil price is down so low, it's at record lows. It's knocked out a good part of the oil business here in America and around the world. They started doing it to see if they could harm Russia, primarily, as Russia's the number one oil producer on the planet and gas producer. Mm. And they, by the way, use the gold theory. They drill down 35 to 40,000 feet, so it's way below where dinosaurs and ferns were. So anybody who believes in fossil fuels, their brain is fossilized. Okay? Now, and I can prove the science in that. So the gold theory was presented in 1951, a year before I was born, and I'm 64. So it's not new science. What people need to understand, the second driver is the globalists want to go to a cashless system. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to Walmart stores now, and I had one of our ladies, Susan, call on the weekend, and we have a lot of people watching, including, by the way, I've got classified contacts, and God gives me dreams and visions as well. But so I usually get a convergence of evidence, both in the physical and the supernatural. It tells me all hell is about to break loose, because we are, this is the Jubilee year, and in Hebrew it's the Shemitah, so I call it the Shemitah. It's hit the fan. Okay?
Okay.
Now, what's going to happen is there will be probably some degree of terrorism in Europe. Again, there'll be a major 9/11 terrorist activity in America. There will be continued economic showdowns over the price of oil, because remember now, we're in World War III, but we're in the economic phase. The fact that the Chinese would not allow the American aircraft carrier, the Stennis, to arrive in Hong Kong with other naval ships, the fact that we're running our bombers over the Spratly Islands, the fact that we're now deploying nuclear weapons along the Polish-Russian border and other areas between Russia and the former Soviet Union CIS nations, the fact that we are arming to the teeth Al-Qaeda and ISIS to attack Russia, the Peshmerga forces in Syria, and do regime change, the fact that the king of Saudi Arabia, of Jordan, who actually used to be in the British Armed Services in the tank division, and is pretty intelligent, but he's a man who said, if Jordan falls to ISIS, because remember now, they trained ISIS in 2011 with the Academy, the Israeli Mossad, under the aegis and control of the CIA. You need to know that's a fact that's not open to dispute. The fact is they're now freaked out because it's like training a bad dog that now wants to bite you. Okay? If they get injured, and I talked to an anesthesiologist 2 months ago in Israel, as ISIS, do you know where they get care if they get injured or a bullet or injury on the battlefield? They get taken care of in Israeli hospitals. People need to know that. Little known, ugly fact. Now, what's likely to happen this year, and this is what I see happening, Hillary's starting to lose. Hillary is deeply in bed with all the globalists. She's so corrupt, she's the highest level witch and highest level female mason in the Western world in the last 500 years. She is Satan's daughter. And we have this white knight, Donald Trump, who's a billionaire who knows he soon could have a bowl of gruel and his $10 billion is gone. And he knows that America is a nation that gave him the opportunity, even with his multiple bankruptcies, to come back from the dead financially. And because he's smart and he's a hero, he managed to come back and become a very branded billionaire. In other words, he's also a celebrity. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens is we're dealing with a situation where it's extremely likely there's going to be a 30% devaluation of the dollar this year as the market starts to go. We already see the first sign. As I said, the very first sign that things are going to start ripping apart is not that the price of gold goes up, that it goes down. It's been suppressed for several years. Mm-hmm. When the ripping sound becomes an explosion, like the dominoes falling, is when the gold price starts to take off and they can't stop it. Mm-hmm. Now, that's happening right now, which means it could be within days, weeks, or months. But something's going to rip this year, and it's my feeling that we're going to have a banking bubble. The total derivatives debt, and derivatives, and the banks are holding, the top 6 banks only, just in America, is $279 trillion.
Yeah.
That doesn't include European banks and others. So basically, if you're a betting man, and let's say, if you go to the races, or you bet in Las Vegas, whatever, you darn well know that this is a solid bet that there's going to be ugliness happen this year. Ugliness means the currency in your pocket, your bank, the value in your home, your pension funds, etc., that are invested in international stocks and bonds and derivatives, backing them up. Because remember, all derivatives are is insurance. It's ensuring that the value of a stock or a bond or a corporation, it's a bet that the corporation is going to be solvent, or a bet that it's going to be insolvent.
Well, it's based on all bogus financial instruments, and if the financial instruments are all based on the dollar, guess what?
Right. 90% of the currency on the planet is either in physical or virtual U.S. Federal Reserve notes, which are neither federal nor reserve. They're actually from the European banking system, where 5 out of the 6 banks that belong to the Federal Reserve system are European. The only one that's actually on the board, although there are a lot of reserve banks in America, is a bank in New York that has 45% of all the bullion on the planet is in New York City with its own private army. Did you know that? 45% of the bullion on the entire planet is in New York City and the Bank of New York. And they're the only bank that's actually part of the Federal Reserve System. The Queen of the Netherlands is actually the board president of the chairwoman of the Federal Reserve System. People don't know that. They don't know that it's not neither Fed nor Reserve nor even American. Right. It's a foreign corporation. Now,
what'd you call it? Anti-money?
I call it anti-money. Yeah, basically, hey, I what I call a money physicist. We are dealing with anti-money, and we have to contain it in this magnetic bottle, because if it gets out, it's going to kill us all. Basically, my prediction is we're going to have the following happen. They tried to suppress Trump. The Rasmussen poll yesterday say he's beating now Hillary by at least 2 points. He was always down 6, 8, 10, 15 points. Right. And he hasn't, quote, even started going after it. Let me tell you, this man is a 10th level, 11th level black belt in terms of personal interaction with people. She is going to be finished. I don't care if she's the highest level witch in the last 5 centuries. She's done. And when Trump starts taking her apart, let me tell you, the globalists are freaking out. Ted Cruz's father, who is a satanic, high-level Masonic, so-called pseudo-spirit-filled Christian, this man is out of his freaking mind. Now he's calling on the body of Christ to support Trump. We got this idiot, Glenn Beck. This guy, by the way, anything this man says in the future, please don't believe a damn thing he says. He's out of his mind, and he's referring back to a Mormon prophecy that when the Constitution hangs by a thread, a man will arrive. It'll be like a rising white night star. And he's actually blessed him through the Mormon church, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is so creepy, and he also had his creepy running mate, Carly Fiorina, which made his numbers even drop more. Carly could easily get a late-night TV show, something like, The Vampire's Wife. Blah. Because Ted Cruz looks like Eddie Munster's grandfather. But I'm telling you, his creeper index, we had Roger Stone on. He said, I would not let my daughter near Ted Cruz. Got it. So, if you don't think the ugliness is going to happen, you want to get out of it, get in KARATBARS, for God's sake. We'll help you. We're not going to disappear. This is not a typical multi-level. This is a business we can help you with now and get started, or else. We were talking about Donald Trump, and I got to mention this because I think it's funny. One of the politically incorrect and stupid things about our society nowadays, besides political correctness, which is pretty nauseating, is the idea that everybody's created equal. No one's created equal. Donald Trump is probably the best businessman that America's seen in the last century or more. He's probably not going to outrun Usain Bolt or jump as high as an NBA basketball player. And, he's getting older, so he doesn't look as hot as his Melania, his wife, or even when he was younger. He was pretty good looking, but he wasn't any rock star. But the fact is, man is a business genius. Now, he's got edges on him because he has a touch of Asperger's syndrome, which I do, which means your mouth runs faster than your brain. Right. So, then you got to understand this, that he doesn't play with cognitive dissonance, which if you're doing business and you lie to yourself, you're going to fail. Now, if you look at things honestly and you raise honest questions and you connect to honest people and want straightforward answers, you're going to succeed in business and you'll also succeed in life. In fact, that's the basic principle of Christianity. You got to look in the mirror and say, like that song about the man in the mirror. If you look in the mirror and you don't realize without Yeshua Jesus, all of us are potentially monumentally evil. Now, if you don't look in the mirror business-wise and honestly ask the right questions, the same thing with healthcare, whether you become your own doctor, you and take care of yourself with the proper nutraceuticals to prevent the allopathic doctors from poisoning you to death or doing inappropriate surgery, not doing the right things. And I do medical, a lot of the consults. But I tell people, I like his narcissism. And people think it's narcissism. I think, no, there's a difference between competency and arrogance. He's extremely competent, but he's not arrogant. Now, I want to take those people out there that are a single mother at home, or a taxi driver, or a doctor who's worried that the fees are going to start shrinking more with his health care, or their insurance malpractice is going so high he can't retire. Now, this is a fact. Do you know that almost no doctors and dentists in this country can retire because they can't go to part-time? They can't go to part-time because they can't afford the malpractice. It's an insane system here in America. You know what? They need KARATBARS because if they just say, hey, dear, I'm burning out here. I'm 25 years in dentistry or 30 years in medicine. It's time to get out the boat and go to Florida or whatever. Well, guess what? They can't do it. They can't go part-time and say, I'm going to scrub up 3 days a week. Then I'll take up my boat the other days. No. But they can do KARATBARS. And if they start KARATBARS now, 2 or 3 years hence from now, if they tell their wife that they want to play with their boat, they're going to have the money to do it. Now, if you think that Bernie Sanders is going to rescue you, or even Donald Trump, he's going to create new jobs and so on, he's going to help you, but you need to help yourself. And that's where KARATBARS, my why is I don't want you out there, or me, or any of my family, or anybody, to take the mark of the beast. And if you don't think these maniacs are getting ready, when Our Lady Susan sent us information that they have scanners in some Walmart stores now, asking you medical questions and scanning your body for the chip they're planning on implanting within 1.5 to 2 years by law in the Obamacare bill. Did you know it's actually in there? Yeah. Now, you need to grasp this, people. This is not a psychotic fugue of Dr. Deagle, okay? I have my numbered days, weeks, months, and year before God says, Deagle, I'm taking you home, bud. And you're not going to always have my voice here to tell you that, this is the way it is. Just like Donald Trump. He's not going to be here forever. He's, 69? If he doesn't get into office now, it's the end of America. This nation will cease to exist. It'll go to civil war if Hillary Clinton hits her, quote, hand on the tiller. And if you don't start getting yourself independent, you don't have to invest. You don't have to buy a website. You don't have to get fancy equipment. You don't have to rent an office and get, broken brick and mortar. You don't even get listed to have to get into a multi-level and learn a whole bunch of different products. No, there's one product that's called gold-backed currency. That's it. It's so simple that even if you had an IQ of 1, you can grasp it.
Shy away from the currency label.
Well, yeah, I call it as money because what it means, though, is that KARATBARS is going to replace the cryptocurrencies. It's going to replace credit cards. It's going to replace exchange. And the thing is, you don't have to physically transfer it. So if you're, let's say, in Brazil and you want to buy Italian leather, you can do it through KARATBARS at a distance. That's what's really cool about it. It means it can be used as a means of exchange. It can be electronically exchanged. And you don't have to worry about the local currency going to hell in a handcart. Like, Argentina. They've got this corrupt new president of Argentina. It's like, what a joke. His billionaire father, and he's there planted by the bankers. It's to rip them off some more.
Yeah.
So, when we come back, my why is, don't take the mark of the beast. Get into KARATBARS. Don't go get economic devastation and say, well, how come Bernie didn't save me, or even Donald Trump? Trump is going to make it better, but it's still going to be ugly.
Yeah.
Technical issues of KARATBARS. You want to build a KARATBAR business, we said the first step is to make a list of people that you think would want to get into a business that's going to prosper. Basically has no risk. is going to be a gold saving business first. Then it's going to be a gold business because you can have K-Exchange literally market, let's say you're an electrician in Ohio, or you're a person that produces crafts, or you're a person that provides online tutoring. It's number one, it's going to be gold savings. And then there are also things like kiosks where you can exchange it for fractional reserve currency in your country, or gold-backed KARATBARS cards, or the gold-backed KARATBARS currency. Notes, the notes were 1/10 of a gram of gold in them. And then finally, it basically can be encrypted, so it's basically it will evade any surveillance by the so-called powers that be. It can't be devalued because it's not under fractional reserve currency printed by a government or a big bank. So the first step is go to the announcements section. Under announcements and notices, you'll see at the top the step-by-step process to get paid and save in gold and build a secure financial money-making future. And we show those 10 steps. We also have videos there and some videos from the recent April 9th conference in Los Angeles. If you go up to the NutriMedical Associates on the upper right-hand panel, you'll see Build a KARATBAR Gold Business, and you'll just hit that button. It'll bring you to NutriMedical 7. Now, we purchased VIP packages for myself and my wife and my daughter, and gold for our sons and one of our employees. So we did that initially, and that's called our power leg, and our banking leg is the other leg. So you only get two legs, a left and right. So you only really need to sponsor two people. Everybody else that we put on the network is downline. So one gentleman, for example, was slow to get his Know Your Customer documents done, and he was dawdling. And by the time a few months later he came back and says, "You put something like 35 or 40 people under me, but I don't have a cent." And he went in to look at his website, and he said, "Look at all this money that's sitting there." I said, "That's all you have to do is sponsor people on the other leg, and it'll be deposited in your KARATBARS MasterCard, debit card in Stuttgart, Germany, and you can transfer with a SWIFT code up to $2 million whenever you make it. You can do it by gold, you can transfer it to your bank, you can transfer it to your PayPal account, you can do whatever you want to do." And he said, "You're kidding." I said, "No. You got to get cracking. In other words, if you need help, we'll be your trainer wheels." So he was surprised at that. He was. This is so simple. I guess it underwhelms people. They say, "What? You mean that's all you have to do?" People are surprised, aren't they?
Yeah, they are sometimes, and that's one of the joys, is because when you think about it, you really just need to work hard enough to find two people that are willing to do what you do.
Right.
Now, sometimes that may take 10 people or even 20 people, but the point is, you just need to find two, and then those people are going to find their two, and so forth. But it really demonstrates the leverage that goes on in building this network.
I saw it with Dan. Number one, he kept it simple, KISS principle. He kept it energetic. He kept it positive. And he kept it so that it's reproducible to the people down. And so he was mentoring mentors. Nitsa Nakos in Vancouver did that principle. And in 1 year, she sponsored something like 18,000 people. Now, I think at the end, before Dan Jeromo went, he had well over 100,000 people in his network.
That's my understanding, yeah. Well, over 100,000 people. Now, he was at it for 4 to 5 years.
Right, but that's really good. You can imagine somebody with 35% heart function and highly motivated, nothing like impending wings to motivate you,
right.
Terminal heart failure, nothing like a reality to motivate you to say, I'm going to keep this simple. I'm going to keep it high energy, as high as I can, consider him congestive heart failure. And he did it. And he sponsored other people to be successful. And what he's doing is he's bulletproofing those people that were downline so they won't get destroyed. For example, I remember this from my grandmother telling me, because my grandfather had a talent of making money even during the Depression. And when people come to their home, they had a fairly big home, and they'd say, "We'll work for a sandwich, we'll work for dinner." They weren't even working for money, they just wanted to get fed and a place to put their head.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't understand is they don't think those days can happen again. I'm thinking, are you crazy? People don't understand the devaluation, even the currency of adjacent countries like Mexico and Canada. The Canadian currency is down, I think, 26%.
That sounds about right.
That's pretty painful. And it's primarily because they haven't expanded their economy. They're too based on the oil industry, like in Alberta. And there's some high tech, but they basically what's happened is Canada hasn't expanded. Same way as countries like Saudi Arabia and these oil countries, if they haven't expanded their technology base and their other means of making money, and you can't just say, well, we're going to put them into service industry. Excuse me, service industry is not going to fix everything. That's why when I hear Donald Trump saying, he's going to stop carrier from moving, yes, you need to have blue-collar workers and people making things. And yes, eventually that's going to mutate where more and more robots will be involved with welding and doing this and that, but you'll never eliminate human beings completely. And you need to have a full range of things, like things being built in your country. But even if Trump fixes a lot of the problems, there's still going to be a lot of pain because it's a global problem. It's not just a U.S. problem. It's a global problem. And globally, the globalists want it to collapse because they have their evil system in their back pocket saying, we're going to do this. We're going to get you with a chip in you. We're going to have you carrying your cell phone everywhere. We're going to show your papers, please, wherever you go. And after, by the way, they blow up a nail bomb in an airport or a biological weapon or radiological weapon, and 50,000 people die, not 3,000 like in 9/11. And by the way, after 9/11, a lot more people died than probably 9/11 by 10 to 20 times. I've just talked recently to I've treated many rescue workers and firefighters and police from New York City over the years. But the disaster that's coming under Obama is going to make that pale. And the reason is because structurally, if you leave your door wide open and there's criminals outside with guns and bad things and bad intentions, and they know you've got a vault full of gold and a refrigerator full of food and they're starving and they want your money, they're coming in the back door and they're going to kill you to take your stuff. Now, if people here in this country don't think, and that includes these Democrats, I call them dumb and crappy, think that it is going to not happen this year under the Obama, who's a late night TV host, yucking it up at the, what do they call them? They had the reporters kind of dinner. Remember the other day? And I'm telling you, this guy delivers a really good joke. I mean, I'm thinking, Obama, you could probably beat Jimmy Kimmel live at late night TV. But you are a hell of a president. You are a mess. You are an evil monster. He's not a failure. He's a massive success at destroying this country and deconstructing it. Mm-hmm. And he's not the only one. Look at Angela Merkel. She just puts this dour look on like, yeah, I'm really a kind person. I'm going to destroy Germany. And the Germans, by the way, I just got my stats in terms of the next highest group of people listening to my show. After America, the largest overall downloads is the Germans, because these are smart people and they speak English and they say, oh my gosh, he's telling us exactly what these people are doing to our country. And Germany has suffered through this and created this disaster in World War I and II, which are the same people behind World War III, which is now in the economic phase. People say World War III isn't going to happen. It's happening. It's the economic phase of it. Years before World War I and II happened, there were economic phases and things happening that were ugly. The ugliness of World War III has already started, okay? So get with the program and get in KARATBARS. What are your secret things that Dan taught you to get you going in KARATBARS? What did he say to you that made you realize, wow, because you were a gold bug beforehand too, aren't you?
I guess you could kind of say that, but he didn't really give me any secrets as much as he just gave me common sense and some facts that you can't, number one, can't ignore, and number two, are beneficial to you if you put them to work. As an example, one of those facts that sounds kind of cruel at first, but you're exchanging worthless paper fiat currency for real money.
Right.
And this is something you can't do anywhere else, and you can get paid to do that by sharing it with somebody else.
Right. I remember one of my friends, Bondi was his first name, and he was escaped running across the forest to get out of Hungary during the Hungarian Revolution. And he said, the paper money was only good for one thing. It was an excellent insulator for outhouses. I want to read off a letter here, because sometimes we get so serious. You got to listen to this. This is from one of my buddies that listens to the program, and he writes some really funny, short, kind of punchy articles. And the headline of the article is "Head Explode." Sometimes you talk with people that just make your head want to explode, such is the case today. I am talking with one of the new salesmen who was a math professor at Caltech until his girlfriend got a position at SU, so they moved here. He has had too much radiation and sunny weather. He was talking to me about the reason he supports Sanders, Bernie Sanders that is, the burn, is that he wants to give everyone the same amount of money so they will never have to work. The reason blacks are into drugs is that they have been rejected from society for some reason. He proceeds to tell me that only 10% of the people would then not work because they have no longer a reason to work for basic subsistence. The drug problem would go away and society would be better off. He is all in favor of taxing all income to pay for his plan. He was touting Brazil and Argentina as examples of how well it works. I looked at him and said, I disagree, and got up and walked away from him. And then, I'm sure, if you haven't done it already, Steve, you call Dr. Deagle, you got a KARATBARS program, and you realized we do not want the burn. How's that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely.
You know, Bernie Sanders may say all the right things about identifying the problem, but he's like taking someone who's watched a lot of shows about surgery, and then somebody thrusts him in, because he looks like a surgeon, into the operating room, and he doesn't even know what a scalpel looks like, and he's starting to make the opening cut. You know, he is not a solutions genius. He has no idea what to do to actually solve the problem. And look what communism has done. Communism in Russia and through China and Asia and through the former Soviet Union killed how many people? I think it must be 500 million or more people. They bit the dust because of this same crazy idea that Bernie Sanders is putting out. I call him our American Bolshevik.
Very interesting.
American Bolshevik. Yes, we will rule over the Romanov family. We will bring food and bread to all Russians, but we'll kill most of them first.
Right.
You know, the fact is, if you don't protect yourself economically, and it's nice to look up to Trump if he gets in, because he will bring more jobs and he'll put tariffs on and do other things. But to be honest, even if he puts on the brakes and does everything, you better protect yourself financially.
Mm-hmm.
If you need help, and you say, I have no idea what you're saying, Deagle. You talked about a lot of things, and you put up where you're, why, and all this stuff. You need to know, if you don't make the decision right today to do this, when we're here, the creaking sound of the economy ready to go kaput. And I can't tell you when it'll happen, but I can tell you, if you see gold and silver taking off like a rocket after they've been suppressing it for years, the actual price of gold should be somewhere around, considering what they've done to the economy and the value of the dollar, should be around $30,000 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
And they've been praying with paper gold, and even suppressing the price of gold so much that even the gold stocks and the companies that mine gold are having trouble financially because it's so expensive to extract the gold and then kind of certify the gold and so on through LBMA certification and so on, that the gold business itself is suffering because of the expense of getting it out of the ground and then certifying it. And they're purposely doing this because while they're doing it, all these countries like China and Russia and so on are grabbing gold like crazy behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you talk to the real gold bugs, the guys that have, pallet loads of it in an underground safe, they're telling us you buy and sell with these fractional reserve funding money currencies, but they want the gold. And ultimately, when things go kaput, because they will, it's going to go kaput because it's a controlled demolition, just like the Oklahoma City Mirror Building and the 9/11 towers. This is an economic demolition. And when you see the last guy leave the site and somebody says pull, and all of a sudden you see the economy start to go and the building collapse in its own footprint, they had a controlled demolition. Well, the guy is leaving the building and running like hell because they're ready to pull it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what's going on. I mean, people say, no, Dr. Deagle, you're just making this up. You're trying to frighten us. No, I'm not trying to frighten you. I'm trying to activate you. There's a difference. If I inform you and I give you a plan to survive and thrive, I will not bring any problem on this show that I do not provide an answer or a pathway to an answer or a collective prayer to find an answer immediately. And the reason is I'm not cruel. I think just scaring people and telling them really bad stuff without a solution is cruel. I think it's inhuman. I think it's mean and nasty. We're giving you a solution. And we're saying, yes, part of that solution is Donald Trump, but he's only part. He's like a guy going too fast, trying to hit the brakes, and he's going to tear his brake pads all to hell. He's not going hit at 100 miles an hour, he's going to hit about 50, but it's still going to be ugly. Mm-hmm. So if Trump gets in, we may survive the trauma. If Hillary or Bernie or Lion Ted gets in, we are not going to survive the trauma. It's going to get really, really ugly. You're going to see, murder in the streets and power out and crazy stuff like, they have this miniseries now. It's called Fear the Walking Dead. That's the latest version of the show. Well, let me tell you, this Walking Dead thing is nowhere near as bad as it'll get if the economy is completely shattered. Because most people don't know how to grow food, don't know how to take care of themselves, can't get clean filtered water. And they figure, one of the shows of a prepper program a few years ago was, hey, our prepper plan is to go after preppers. They actually put it on TV, and I think they got sued because they just pulled the whole program and said, you guys are crazy, you can't put this on TV. You're telling people, don't worry, find out where your prepper buddies are across the other side of the valley and figure out how you're going to go and do an armed invasion and grab his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you, I'm a prepper and I'm armed to the teeth. You do not want to come to my house uninvited. Because you're probably going to I'm going to be a secretary for Jesus, and I'm going to make sure you have an appointment, even if it's not scheduled.
Right.
Right. And so the point is, we don't want to get to that. I don't want to see decay from the voting box to the cartridge box. I don't want to see society go kaflooey and lots of people die. I don't want to see our military die or police trying to see if they control the population, because they can't. If they shipped every army on earth, and I don't want to see stupid politicians like all these lying, corrupt politicians telling us that they're going to make things better when they're actually putting the depth charges to destroy the building of the economy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then people say, well, I got money in the bank, I'm rich. I said, really? And how much is that could be worth if they blow it up? Not much. So get into KARATBARS. We'll help you. We're not going to leave you here just sitting there and without help. We're going to say, we'll do some sizzle calls for you. We'll help you along. And we'll train you so you can train people down line. And then, when all hell does break loose, because it's going to happen this year, the first stage of what I call the demolition is going to happen before the Abominator leaves office. I'm looking over here at the Drudge Report, which I find weird, evil, and unfortunately very highly informed a lot of times. Ted's wrath, do the math. Well, and then we have this maniac here, Glenn Beck. This guy is out of his cotton-picking mind. I mean, I don't know what he's smoking, but he better stop it, boy. It says, blaze of glory, choose between good and evil, Beck's final fast. We have Almighty God on our side. I don't know. They should make it a small g God because he's polishing his horns, buddy. It's not the good God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's the other guy, the usurper. The real usurper, just like, the usurper in the White House, so Abominator. And as I say, if he's not the false prophet, he's a damn good dry run. Because he's going to come as a celebrity, and he's going to come as a schmoozer. He's going to come as a great late-night TV host. Better than Obama, but than Conan, I call it the late-night giant called Conan, or Jimmy Kimmel, or any of the other guys. Obama would top him. If he was a late-night TV host, he'd have a massive audience. He'd have Jay-Z and Beyonce on all the time. Well, you have to understand this. These people are conspiring to force you to take the mark. And in the year, this Obamacare bill, in a year and a half to 2 years, they are going to force you to take the chip if they don't get rid of Obamacare. Did you know that? Do you know what my why is about KARATBARS? The number one reason isn't just to protect the economy, it's to make sure people don't take the mark. Because it's coming. And guess what? It's going to come to America first before it goes to any other nation. It's not coming from Brussels. It's not coming from Beijing. It's not coming from Moscow. And all these sable rattlers are idiots that think somehow Russia's going to attack. Their entire armed forces is only about 270,000 people. Yeah, they got a good special forces, but they can only do a pinprick type of attack, like over in Syria. And they're running out of money. Part of the reason why they had to have peace is because they can't afford it. The same with the Chinese. They only have one aircraft carrier. Do you think they can project force around the world? No. And do they understand that we have multi-layers of anti-missile systems? We not only have theater air defense, which is a missile hit a missile, we have a plasma interferometry field around the Earth, and we have these death rays, which are the Tesla death rays, that literally vaporize a missile from the ground at the speed of light. Mm-hmm. And we just have to build enough of them, and nobody anywhere can fire a missile at us, including Mr. Kim Jong-un, the overweight psychotic head of the North Korea. And of course, I'm really waiting for what I call the sequel to The Interview, because that's definitely the funniest movie I've seen in years. The Interview with them playing Katy Perry songs. But guess what? The bottom line is all these maniacs are all playing a part to blow up the economy. And somebody is pushing a plunger this year. I can guarantee it. When last November, on 17th, during the Paris bombings, the IMF director, Lagarde, said she was going to make China, and how does she does this unilaterally? Oh, well, I'm going to make China a secondary world reserve currency. There was no vote. We didn't get a vote. Did you get a vote? I didn't get a vote. Why can they just kind of unilaterally say, hey, China's got a world reserve currency? And then they announced literally on the 19th, which is the first day of the 13 days of Beltane, these Hebrew sacrifice days of we call apostate Hebrews, that they're not going to exchange the gold-backed yuan with the dollar. Do you not understand it, people out there? That's why gold is taking off like a rocket, because they're seeing the impending catastrophe. All you need to do is get enough rich people to say, I'm jumping off the boat before the Norwegian rats jump off, and the dollar will plunge in every other currency. That's what's coming. Heed the notice. Get into Karat Bars. God help you.